source of perpetual ache that helps people scrape by. It's whether we are partners building the capacity for transformational change.
So, there are a whole series of things that can be done, keeping in mind
I am from SaharaTV. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Hi viewers, welcome back to SaharaTV. With me here is Kambale Musavuli to talk about the Congo and the ongoing crisis in the country as we enter 2013. Now, just a quick background, we saw at the end of 2012, the M23 rebels take over Goma, and then in a long campaign, and then after a period of time of holding the city, we saw them at this moment leave Goma itself, but they are still a very big presence in the Congo, and this is just one of many rebel groups that has existed in the country for many years now. And Kambale here is today to discuss this and talk about the reasons why not only are these ongoing issues occurring in the Congo, but to talk about the broader aspects of why generally the Congo is not heavily reported on either in mainstream media or just by the general public, and why even as being one of the largest countries in Africa and having numerous resources that people use every single day in very common items such as computers and cell phones and many other electronics and rare earth metals, as well as the fact that this conflict has been going on for quite some time now. It just doesn't seem to be on the forefront of people's minds, and this has prevented perhaps the reason why it has yet to be resolved. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So I think to start, I'd like to hear about the campaign Breaking the Silence and the reason that there is so much silence on this crisis in the Congo and why for so long it's been that way.
Yes, Breaking the Silence is a campaign run by Friends of the Congo. It's an advocacy group based out of Washington. So what we do is we engage communities around the world to do activities where they will speak about what's happening in the Congo, but in a very particular way. We want them to speak about the history of the Congo, the tragedy of what's taking place right now, and then the potential of a peaceful Congo, because that's what's always missing. Because we talk about the crisis, but we never say about what if Congo was at peace, how could Africa look like? So we engage people in those type of activities. And across the world now, we have about 60 countries and about 300 universities and communities who do Congo Week on a yearly basis, where they'll show films, they'll do forums, and so on. Now, why people are breaking the silence? Since 1996, there have been over 6 million people who have died. Now, when I say 6 million, people can't even picture what that means. It's almost as you taking Netherlands off the map. Right. Our relatively, if we speak about Rwanda, our Congo's neighbors, Rwanda has about an 8 to 9 million population, so we're talking about the whole country of Rwanda disappear. Now, that's what has taken place in the Congo for the past 16 years. Then half of the deaths have been children under the age of 5. So Congolese can sympathize with the people in Connecticut who lost their children in the shooting at the school, because we've had over 3 million children under the age of 5 dying in the Congo. But what's this conflict about? Is really the root of it, the control of Congo's mineral wealth. Congo is endowed with so many minerals that's used in our modern day technology, your cell phone, your laptop, your DVD players, pacemakers even have it. So without the Congo, modern technology will stop, will really halt. So Congo provide that. And in part, Congo's neighbors in the east, Rwanda and Uganda, for the past 16 years, have supported our militias in the Congo. Have actually had the troops into the Congo and have caused this Holocaust-like conflict that we hope that 2013 will be the year when it will stop.
Yeah, so I was looking on Breaking the Silence and the campaign. I noticed here in the U.S. you've gone to various universities and other areas. What has been the feedback that you've gotten? Are people willing to come on board? Do you get good ideas from just these average folks that you talk to? I mean, has it worked out in the way that you want? I mean, is there, I guess, some things that when you go and speak to these people, like what, I sit at home and I see this and I'm like, my God, I need to do, like, how can people get involved in an area that they maybe perhaps have never been to the Congo or something like that? How do they connect better with this campaign?
It's been quite interesting, and that's why for me I never say that Congo is a hopeless case, because I see what people are doing. And as we travel, actually, the country, we have other members also who do the same thing that I do. As we go in these communities, the one thing that I've noticed personally is that people don't know. So whenever we speak to them, the first question they ask is, how can I help? Because that's why it's very important even for peace activists or justice seekers to not fall into the trap of saying, why doesn't the world care? The world will care if they know.
Right.
So that's been at least my experience.
Okay.
They don't know what is happening. I show the connection is, why should Congo matter to them? As American citizen or citizen of the world, why should Congo matter to you? And then I found out, how come I never knew this was going on? So what can I do? And then we give them tangible actions that they can take in their own specific community. We do it in a very basic way. We call it education, mobilization, support. That's my pitch.
Okay.
We don't want people just to take an action on the Congo. You need to educate yourself first to know why Congo is where it is today. After now you know what is happening, then mobilize your community. Engage in film screening, forums. You could even do a party for the Congo. We've had people who have done that, mobilizing people in the community to do that. Then support. We believe no matter what we do on the outside, it's really on the inside that change is going to happen. So supporting Congolese on the ground who are fighting to change their country. But here's the challenge of the Congo. 71 million people live in the country. Congo is the size of Western Europe, bordered by 9 African countries, right in the heart of the African continent. And the population, the majority of them, are under the age of 18. So we're talking about, when we're talking about the conflict, we're talking about 15-year-olds stopping this conflict.
Right.
So that's really the reality. But young people have done that before. Young people of the 1950s across the African continent mobilized for independence. Same thing for the Congolese. We had young Congolese who rose up to change the country, and on June 30th, 1960, Congo became an independent country. So this generation of today, that's the same call we're having with young Congolese there. But we hope by connecting them with people outside, supporting their struggle on the inside, it makes it easier to end the conflict.
Okay, I think that's a good way to segment into the internal workings of the country. I mean, one of the biggest problems has been the government's inadequacy, inability to deal with the issues, to provide for the Congolese people, to put down these armed uprisings that occur with various rebel groups. Sometimes the government has even been funding rebel groups themselves in certain cases, and the Congolese military hasn't been able to deal very well with these issues. So what do you see if the government is unable to do this? Where does the assistance within the country come from?
It's really the prism in which to look at what is happening. The Congolese government does not work for the Congolese people, unfortunately. It's not a government elected by the people of the Congo. Can point the viewers to look at what happened in November of 2011, where there were elections in the Congo. And it was dubbed by many international organizations as there was electoral fraud. So with the issue of election where the Congolese people went to the poll to elect a leader, and the leader they voted for did not come into power, and there is an imposition on another leader, speaking of what that government will do, I will always argue that government does not represent the people. That's not the will of the people. So that's one of the challenges. The second challenge is we must actually know what is the root cause of what's happening in the Congo. Now, as I spoke about the resources, but I also mentioned Congo's neighbors. Congo's neighbors, unfortunately, Rwanda and Uganda, have invaded the Congo twice, in 96 and 98, and are still continuing to support our militias in the Congo. Congo has been called the deadliest conflict since World War II. And one can look at what's happening in the Congo as similar to what happened in Liberia and Sierra Leone, when Charles Taylor of Sierra Leone was supporting rebel militias Charles Taylor of Liberia, actually, was supporting rebel militia in Sierra Leone, and he's being tried for that. So that's the same thing where Congo's neighbors are supporting armed militias. So people have been thinking that the Rwandan genocide ended in 1994, but it hasn't really. It's pretty much what has happened in Rwanda has really enter into the Congo. And Congo hasn't been the same since 1996. So but how can we end it?
Right.
We know that international pressure in this situation in the Congo is going to help. Now, we're speaking from the United States right now. So I'm going to use an example of what people in this country, in the U.S., can do. And then I'll explain it to people around the world. The United States fund the Rwandan military and the Ugandan military. There have been numerous documentation of the Rwandan military and the Ugandan military training, equipping, and financing rebel militias in the Congo.
Yeah.
That's taxpayers' money. Every American that I meet and I tell them that, do you know that your tax money is causing the killing of 5-year-old in Congo? They do not know that.
Yeah.
So I'm engaging them in pressuring their own government in this country. I said that when President Obama went to Ghana, he spoke to Africans and said that Africa doesn't need strong men, Africa needs strong institutions.
Right.
So can he hold true to what he told Africans in Ghana, where the United States will stop supporting oppressive regimes,
right? These strong
and
men
working
in Uganda and Rwanda and other
exactly.
countries. Right, exactly.
And that's one of the solutions, not all, because Congo has other issues that we need to solve, but resolving the issue in the East, where Rwanda and Uganda stop interfering in Congolese politics, will help Congolese in transforming the nation on the inside.
Okay. So you were talking about outside intervention. I know like the UN has had a mission, an armed peacekeeping mission in there for some time. Yeah. Do you see any type, I mean, there's been various calls for different types of military intervention. Now we see in other countries, of course, they've done that. Now we see calls for military intervention in places like Mali and all these other. Do you see the Congo benefiting from anything like that, or is there a need for military intervention? I mean, there's arguments the UN hasn't been very successful for all the years that the peacekeeping mission has been there. I mean, is it?
I mean, look at it this way. The United Nations works with the political will of the Security Council. They have the largest peacekeeping mission in the world, in the Congo. We're talking about 19,000 troops. But now, if you think about 19,000 troops for 71 million Congolese, it does not really mean much. It's very like a drop of water in the bucket. But now, if you look at the situation, I don't think bringing more soldiers is going to solve the problem. That's political.
Okay.
You know, so for example, you have UN peacekeepers who are there, who have what's called Chapter 7 to protect civilians and so on. And they were in Goma. When the militia group took over the city of Goma, it's in the eastern part of Congo, they did not engage in stopping the militia.
Right, they simply stood by.
Because they don't have a mandate to engage in protecting that.
Right.
But that's a phone call to the Security Council. The Security Council can't give that mandate.
Right.
So who in the Security Council is blocking actions from the UN? It's very clear, it's been documented this whole year, that the United States single-handedly, through its ambassador Susan Rice, have numerous times blocked UN report, have also watered down resolution to sanction nations supporting militia group. So the whole world knows who is supporting the militia.
Right.
Then we're asking the UN to engage when members of the Security Council are afraid to engage Rwanda and Uganda.
Right.
So that's a political problem that cannot be solved with military solutions. What are the way forwards that we hope to see? We believe to end the conflict in the Congo, there are 3 things that need to happen. 1, Rwanda and Uganda need to stop interfering in the Congo. There need to be sanctions for supporting militia group and so on. 2, there need to be inter-Rwanda dialogue and political space in Uganda. Why am I speaking about inter-Rwanda dialogue? Rwanda is a police state. Rwandans can't speak for themselves. Right. There is political leaders are in prison. We even have a genocide survivor, Deo Mushahidi, who has been a political prisoner because he spoke out against the regime there. Victoire Ingabire, a Rwandan woman leader who is in prison now for 2 years because she challenged the regime of Rwanda. So we know that there are political problems in Rwanda that if it's not solved, it's going to again impact the Congo. Then 3 is the Congolese solution, where there need to be the international community need to let Congolese choose their own leader. That's really at the root of it, where there was a fraudulent election.
Right.
The local population have provided solutions on how to solve the electoral crisis. but the international community is supporting the so-called president of the Congo when the people of the Congo have checked out a democratic process because they don't see themselves in the government given they didn't listen to their voice. So 3 steps. Pressure on Rwanda and Uganda, inter-Rwanda dialogue political space in Uganda, and resolving the problem of the electoral fraud in the Congo in 2011.
Right. So based on that, how do you think, and what do you think needs to change? I mean, for so many years now, we've seen Paul Kagame of Rwanda propped up as this hero, and one of the issues, and Ugandan leader as well, propped up and supported by Western countries like the United States and others. And it seems to be almost that Kagame can have no faults, so to say. And like, how do you break that idea, or what do you think it's going to take for Western countries to realize that this is not the best way to go, that these countries, for example, like Rwanda is now almost a police state. I mean, people can't speak for themselves, and there's a lot of political prisoners, like you just mentioned, and stuff like that. I mean, but yet the United States stands up and says Paul Kagame is one of the great leaders of Africa. I mean, even recently he was addressed as one of the great leaders of Africa, and how much he's done for Rwanda and all this stuff, and yet how do you just blindly pass by all these issues that both Rwanda has and both that they're causing in the Congo? I mean, what needs to change?
And we also have to separate the issues. You know, we have governments and we have the people.
Right.
The people of the region, from Rwanda, Uganda, and Congo, are clear what regimes they are living under. And they're all fighting to transform the nations.
Right.
Governments of that region are being supported by Western powers and then causing all the situation there. How do we break that? Education.
Okay.
People need to learn more about what is happening in the region, look at who is fighting to create sustainable change and peace in the region, creating dialogue even around the countries. And 3, actually getting the American people and also British people to realize that the governments are not that clean. You know, it's gonna take a while to really shift the policy, but it comes from the engagement of citizens. You know, the United States government supported the apartheid regime. Ronald Reagan, Jimmy Carter, everyone, they supported that regime so strongly. But the only reason why the South Africans were able to really fight on the inside and have some leverage is because people on the outside, especially Americans, stood for them.
Like the average people, right.
They start organizing civil disobedience rallies in front of the South African embassy. They start challenging the United States government and saying, why are we supporting the apartheid regime? Because the American people demanded change in U.S. policy where they said, I don't want my tax money to support oppressive regimes. That had impact. It's the same situation in the Congo. The Congo movement of today is as important as the Free South Africa movement of yesterday. So the American people have to pressure their own government because I have faith in them. When I met them, they were shocked that 6 million people are there. I said, that sounds like the Holocaust. How come no one knows? So I said, well, you have the United States President, Barack Obama, as a senator. He wrote 156 bills. 2 of them passed. One of them is on mercury ban. The other one is a bill on the Congo. Democratic Republic of Congo Relief Security Democracy Promotion Act. So the current president wrote a law on the Congo that he's not applying. And this law says what? If Congo's neighbors are implicated in the destabilization of the Congo, the United States government will not fund this government. Guess what we're doing? We're still funding the Rwandan military and the Uganda military. So we're not appealing to their morality. We're simply saying, enforce your own law. So when American citizens are educated around tools they can use to pressure the government, then we can have leverage for outside interference to stop. Because that's been the story of the Congo. In 1885, during the Berlin Conference, the United States was the first country to recognize Congo as the personal property of Leopold II of Belgium. In 1960, the United States participated in the assassination of Patrice Lumumba, the first elected prime minister of the Congo. Then after that, they supported a dictator, Joseph Mobutu, for 32 years. After, they supported Rwanda and Uganda's invasions in the Congo. So the track record of the United States has been negative. But the American people do not know. So we are appealing to them in saying that we can change the way we engage, because if Congo is free, not just Africa will benefit from it, the whole world. Why? The agricultural capacity. Congo can feed the whole entire world. The Congo River can provide the electricity to the whole African continent, Southern Europe, and have a little bit left for the Middle East. You know, the wealth is estimated at $24 trillion. So if Congo is free today, Africa will be free, and the whole world can benefit from the resources that we have.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've covered a lot of issues here and a lot of different topics. And of course, again, we agree that this is going to take some time.
Yes.
But if there was one area that you would hope to see some movement in 2013, just as a start, do you have one place, or is it a combination of things that need to move forward, just as we start the new year for the Congo?
The goal for us is simple. 2013, let's have peace in the Congo.
Okay.
So if we can have peace, many things can happen. But it's going to be a tough battle.
Yes.
There are many interests at stake. So what we hope that people will do, and actually also this is an appeal to Africans. I always challenge many Africans around the issue of the Congo, where I say, how is it that today, right in the heart of the African continent, 6 million people can disappear and no one knows?
Right.
So if Africans can look at the situation in the Congo and say, wait a minute, they're Africans like me. So if they're being massacred today, tomorrow is going to be me. Mm-hmm. I used to argue that. I say, if Congo's crisis is not solved, what is happening in the Congo is going to spread across the African continent.
Which we've seen now.
It's happening, yeah.
I mean, there's like in Mali was briefly mentioned now, just last week, 2 weeks, the Central African Republic, I mean, and Chad in the past, and others.
And
so
we may even have Senegal with the Casamance issue that's there. We may even have Nigeria, So there are many countries that we as Africans have to start looking at it and saying, any conflict in Africa matters to me. Mm-hmm. But 6 million dead and no one talks about it and even understand the complexity of it, then we wonder, why do we have those PhD African professors?
Yeah.
Why do we have all the intellectuals if we can't comprehend what's happening there? So it's important for Africans to say, there is a reason why the second largest African country, Congo, fourth in population, with all the wealth, is not free today. Kwame Nkrumah understood it back in the 50s. We need to understand that today, that Congo is the heart of the African continent. If the heart is weak, is in a state of cardiac arrest, how can the body function?
Right.
So let's make sure that we bring peace and stability there, and then engage everyone that you know. Start sharing with them, hey, there are 6 million people dead there, and they continue to die on a daily basis, and let's make peace the destination for 2013 for the Congolese people.
Okay. With that, viewers, this is Kambale Musavuli. He was with us today talking about the ongoing crisis in the Congo and a campaign called Breaking the Silence, which seeks to educate people around the world about the crisis in the Congo and what they can do to bring more awareness to not only what's going on in the country, but to bring an end. And like he said, to bring peace. And hopefully there will be peace in the Congo in 2013. Thank you so much, and stay tuned. We're going to have more for you on our show coming up next.